Good evening, people. We're going out to the workshop for a quickie. I'm at the stage now where I've got to make a couple of decisions. Hopefully I've made them. Well, hopefully I've made them correctly. But I'm at the stage now where I need to position and mark the bars that will allow me to create the 3-4-5 or use the 3-4-5 method to mark the positions for the holes for the bench dogs. Outlined here is my current thinking. This is the front of the bench. However, that is not the side or the edge or the inside where I want to work from with the MFT style of top. This is it. I have got a few something like that. I've got a few decisions I need to make this, to allow this top to work at its maximum capability, hopeful capability. If I get the holes positioned accurately enough, like you would hope, then using the track saw system to make cuts is going to be that much more beneficial to me. To that end, I'd had made, and I've talked about this a lot, I've had these steel bars made up. They're spaced at 100, or the holes are spaced at 100, not the 96, would be conventional. But I've made them up at 100, and made them of a size that this is a 3 times size MFT 3-4-5 method. So it's a 9, 12, 15 spaced size. That means that I can do a whole pile of holes down that edge there and a whole pile of holes down here before I even have to move the bars. In fact, what happens along that edge there is that I create a series of holes, and then I can remove the bar, and the holes that I've created use registration pins for then to allow me to use these 2 bars. Yeah, hey. But the point is there, I've got 16 holes down there and whatever number of holes, 9 or 10 along this side, before I have to move anything. That means that this is the position where the bench dogs will be located to register the track saw to, and that will be where the bench dogs will be located to position the fence and the rails along there. So my very first setup, and why it's so critical to make sure I get it right, but my very first setup permits me to get the best chance at getting the holes positioned accurately. And then all other holes from them are hopefully just as accurate, but are more likely to be, if there's going to be an accumulative set of errors, they'll come this way, and they will be least critical. Now, there's lots of ways of setting this out. Well, no, there's several ways of setting this out. This is the method I think I will go with at this stage. And yeah, I think that's prudent. I've got the option of putting that bar, or the very first set of critically placed holes through the middle. That way, any errors are halved that way and kind of halved this way because where I'm setting up, rather than setting up on a corner. If everything's perfect, it's irrelevant, but everything is not perfect in a workshop. This is not a CNC machine, so I'm trying to eliminate, before they come about, any of those possibilities for errors. So this is the method I'm going to be utilizing, and positioning it as I have permits me a little bit of capacity here for making the narrow rips, because most of the work I want to have the track saw, or how it functions, is to make use of this. Actually, I'll get it. Whoa, loud noise. Is to use this gauge to be located there, and then I can register it to the saw blade or measure off the saw blade to get the pieces that I want cut. Equally, I can put a wider piece on like this, or even spin it round so it cantilevers off, giving that thing a bit of the support further out, giving me more capacity here. And if it becomes necessary, I can move the bench dogs over X number of millimeters. 100, 200, 300, 400, it won't really matter, because if it starts out accurate, any increments or every other hole generated should be pretty darn accurate. So, seems like it's got the best of both worlds. I could have this set back further and give me more capacity right away, but for the most part, I won't need it. And as I said, I've got the flexibility of having a panel like this that can be positioned, repositioned, spun round, extended out to take that. And I've got the capability of moving the tracks or rails themselves. So now it's just down to making sure I make the first set of holes along that edge with that rail as best I can. And then all other holes will be, subservient to these sets of holes. And it doesn't matter whether they're parallel to the edge, so long as the holes are true to themselves. When I go to use the bench dogs, the track rail system, etc., will function the way it should. That is my theory. The beauty of this is I can actually, and I've talked about it endlessly, but I can make the holes along this edge, remove that bar completely, the holes that I've created, then make use of these dowels and registration pins. These ones, just bear with me while I open it up. So once I've got the holes marked, I can take the component, the melamine, put it up on the drill press and drill all the holes. I'm lucky that I'm able to do that, because the components that make up the MFT style of top are narrow. They are able to be lifted up and put onto this table that I've just finished today, and I can drill all my holes. Can't do that if it's a part of the workbench or you've got big sheets. You just can't do that, but fortunately I can. So I'm recommending this method if you want to be able to do the holes or make the holes with your drill press. Strongly recommend it, in fact. So once the holes are marked, drilled on the drill press, I can insert these 20mm dowels. I can insert these 20mm, I'll get you one out. I can insert them into the surface. Yay. They then can have these pins put in them to register these bars. So you can imagine one of these coming up, there'll be a bush in there. In fact, it's that very bush right there, as you can probably see, and this registers in that very neatly. So that little bush goes in here, that's in the top, this bar sits over and registers, and then I can pivot them around, etc., etc., making the 3, 4, 5, or in the case of this 9, 12, 15 triangulation with the bars. These have to have very fine tolerances built into them, and they do. Not like these, which are bench dogs, which have an allowance built into them, so they're actually quite wobbly in a hole in comparison to these. These are a snug fit. In fact, I'm just bending down to get something. I'm quite happy with this. But these are holes that I've drilled, just my trial run. But you can see, 20mm hole. Beautiful, silky smooth fit. No wobble. This bench dog, which is a standard bench dog, you may not see it, but I can wobble it ever so slightly. In fact, in theory, these are 20mm holes. These are 19.95mm bench dog. So there will be that little bit of wiggle. Not much, but enough. Here, no, none. So, yeah, they're just that much. They've just been made that way. So you need that sort of refinement to allow you to get the precision out of these things. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. Whoop, a waste of time if I drop them as well. You can even get looser fitting bench dogs, as it turns out. I didn't actually realise that, but they say these are standard loose fit, and these ones really do wobble around quite a bit. But as soon as you drop them down, you really can't feel any wobble in it. So it's marginal. Anyway, you didn't need to know that, but you do now. There are different fit bench dogs, and you can't use not ideally, bench dogs in this situation, but you can easily get those stainless steel, that's what they are, 20mm dowels, and use them for this approach. So there we go. I'm trying to work out all the issues before I go marking things. That's what I'm working out. Ideally, yeah. No, that's all I'm going to say. Keep it brief for a change, and once I've got them marked along this edge and drilled, I can then carry on and doing the 3-4-5ing of the, for squaring it. The theory being, it should be a little bit easier because the number of moves of the bars are minimal. Also, the fact that if I get clever, if I can position the bars like this, and I've got these ones that I can make, I've got a couple of each of these, I can then position them to locate the bars on that side. And in theory, I can then 3-4-5 square it back this way, and it must be accurate. And if it's not, I'll pick up the errors then, won't I? Hey, lots of good ideas. Let's just see whether in the next couple of days they work out to be as good as I hope them to be. Rightio, with that, I'm going back inside. It's quite late at night. What else do I do when I've got nothing else to do? No social life. And so I come out here and talk to a camera. Rightio, that's it. I'll see you in the next video. So until then, good night.